All right, so then I don't need any introduction. So first of all, you know that the message isn't directed at you. Yeah? We basically throw the ball over our head because I learned that to talk to you about what's called the truth doesn't go anywhere, but to talk the truth about you goes somewhere, yes? So there's an aspect, you know, they say when I was growing up as a Catholic kid, they had those three attributes of the Godhead, which is all-knowing, all-powerful, and omniscient, omnipresent. So basically where I'm throwing the message to is that omnipresence, yeah? I would say raw mind or unfettered mind or whatever. It's always available at all times. You're not going to find it through the relative mind because it's not lost, yeah? It's just there. So, and I found that the selfing or the action figure's defense and its code, its programming, there's no point to talk to the dreamt about it being the dreaming or being dreaming. Yeah, it just doesn't go anywhere. You want to talk to the dreaming about the dreamt. Yeah, so there's a direction. So you don't need to hear anything really, because the spiritual subpoena will be served, and it is served already. We're just doing a dance basically around it, yeah? Because we already are that which we're looking for, yes? We already are that which we're looking for. So the message, why? Because the defense mechanism of the selfing is that its movement is the claim, and it's a very fast process. So it will arise very quickly and claim to be the doer, the hearer, right? The understander, the knower, the one that's going to arrive somewhere, to the point, and it's getting so absurd in non-duality where people are trying to be a non-self as a self. Yeah, they want to have some non-self qualities, but they want to have them. So it's just like, because the message is getting captured or claimed by the action figure. Yeah, and the mail slot we're aiming at isn't the action figure's mail slot. We're trying to throw it over the action figure's head. Yeah, with the hopes and actually the faith that one of the ideas is going to get to the mother mind, and it's going to hit the mind, and the mind's going to conceive of something, which is, I may not be that, yes, as this, yeah? And then the next possibility that downloads is, I can be free from it. Now, the horse is in front of the cart. Because what happened when that occurred with me, when I saw this activity, this idea of self as a foreign installment, or I saw it like a parasitical movement, yeah? As soon as I saw it as other, the next possibility that came through, which was I can be free from it. And immediately I had sometimes you get a long view of what you would call 40 years of your life, but in a second. But it's very, 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 very deep and has a lot of quality to it, but there's not much time. It just hits you. And what hit me was I saw that most of my life since 6 years old, I've been trying to be free as self. Yeah, I was trying to be free as that which I would love to be free from. Yeah, and see, even that love to be to be free from self is from self. Yeah, the thing that wants to get out of the body experience is the body identification. Yeah, spirit doesn't give it. Spirit is an unmoving acceptance of how things are appearing. It's sort of like if we came here and we were going to do a introductory to a 3-day retreat of chanting I'm not a body. So we'd be chanting I'm not a body for 3 days, but what would be claiming to be the chanting of I'm not a body is the body. Yeah? So the chanting I'm not a body is used to reinforce the body. You see it? This is the heist. If you see it once, you can see it all the time. The heist is exactly that. Yeah? The selfing uses that drive to get out to reinforce the in. Yeah? That's it. So great master said, all right. So here, it's sort of like you can't escape from an imaginary place. Yeah? You can't escape from an imaginary place. Then what drives you to want to escape? You're taking it to be real. That which is taking the imaginary place to be real is imaginary itself. Yes? So by it trying to get out of the imaginary quote-unquote real place, it seems real. Yeah. So the bigger in is wanting to get out. That's the biggest in that we're not seeing. We see the in out, but really the out there's a huge in the out. Your wanting to get out is reinforcing the idea of being in. And it just duplicates the same idea thousands of different ways, with different degrees, with different length and time, but it's the exact same heist. Yeah. So a great master, Ramana Maharshi, put it as, and if there's a lot of people who wrote a lot of stuff about him, and he had a basic, his teaching was sound, and he was putting it out there, and in a lot of the writings they've done, this idea is prefaced as the problem or the greatest mystery. So there's some emphasis put on it. And then you'll see why. Because if there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing, which is this, yes? This is not existing in and of itself. It's appearing to exist. It's being animated, yes? Just like the glove is appearing to exist, but it's animated by the hand. Yes. If the hand forgets it's a hand and is identified as a glove, it will think the glove is self-animating, yeah? So the glove will be doing everything, yet the glove isn't doing a damn thing. It's being moved by the hand. So there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. That's all you need, really, to hear. Because if there's going to be movement, and that movement is based on a false assumption, even if it seems like the tiniest bit off that most of us never even notice, yeah? But if you now put 300,000 steps after this one, there's going to be a huge arc, yeah? And the funny thing is, then here, if you attempt to correct and go back, that's even more of the arc, you see? Because self can't get out of self. So you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Now, would this master say that to Steve, Mary, Joe, if you were just Steve, Mary, Joe? No, of course not. He was talking to the Buddha, aka Steve, and he was telling the Buddha, hey, Buddha, you can't use yourself to find yourself. Bammo. Yeah. And then he goes, hey, you can't use mind, awareness, whatever you want to call it, to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. It's the fundamental glitch. And there's no way around it. It's like in recovery, we have a statement, you've got to quit playing God. And then it says, after that, next in this drama of life, you're going to be the directed, and God or this higher power is going to be the director. Yeah, but the idea is, I'm telling you right now, in my own observation, the selfing is playing God. The narration in one's head, when you wake up in the morning, when it tells you how the day's going to be, that's playing God. When it says, fuck this, those people hate me, that's playing God. You have no idea how people are feeling, but it pontificates completely, and we're like, I'm bouncing around because it just comes that way. But I remember I was going to Lincoln, Mass, near Walden Pond, to do a talk. And we got there a little late. We flew into Boston, and we drove up, and it was like 11 o'clock. We're in this rural area, and there's this big commotion near this railroad crossing. So we had to stop at the stop sign. We're sitting there, and the cop came over, and we asked him, hey, what happened? He says, oh, a lady was following her GPS and made a right onto the railroad tracks. Now, she must have felt the railroad tracks, but she went 15 yards more because I was just listening to GPS. That's unbelievable fucking faith. Yeah? That's what's happening in the head. There's an inordinate amount of faith in where the selfing resides, and so you're believing false evidence. And when what's real believes false evidence appears to be real. What's happening? This book here, lesson 2, it says a simple perceptual fact. You and I are giving everything all the meaning it has. That's an incredible comprehensive statement as a diagnosis of what's actually happening here. Yeah? That you and I give everything all the meaning it has. you can't get out of that. Everything and all is pretty comprehensive. So basically, what does that lead to? If you and I are giving everything all the meaning has, you could only fall upon the idea that this is dreaming, yes? That we're in the same event, but we're all going to have different experiences of it. Because the event won't tattoo us, we'll tattoo the event. Yeah? We precede everything else. We're the dreaming of this whole thing. It's not a thing. All it is dreaming. It's all verbing. It never turns into a dream. So, where was I back there? No, the lady, but before that. It seems like a year ago now. But when this happened, when I heard this, it was like the unspoken yes. And in time, it has turned into the last answer. And the last answer is actually the first answer. And the first answer is there's no need for an answer. That's the answer. Yeah. As long as you believe there's a need for an answer, as the answer, there'll be seemingly a need for the answer. Yeah. It's a little conundrum because, the quit playing God. So here he goes. So I would say the mental state's playing God, yeah? And so here's the statement, you gotta quit playing God. So all right, so that which is playing God, I gotta quit playing God. So it tries to quit playing God. Isn't that playing God? Ad infinitum, you see? You can't get out. Yeah, you can't get out. The way to get out is realize you're not in. Yeah? That's the way to get out, is to realize you're not in. The out that comes after the in is going to just produce more ins and outs. But the out before the in doesn't have any complementary opposite. It's just out. Yes? Or you could say completely in or completely out. The freedom is prior to what we're calling bondage. It's not something that happens after the bondage. It's an inherent possibility. Inherent means it's always available at all times, right where we are, before the bondage. Before any movement towards freedom, there is freedom from all movements towards freedom. So the heist, this idea of what Ramana was saying, it goes, okay, so if that's the case, there's this presupposing a non-existent thing, then what happens is your spiritual practices themselves are being used to reinforce the non-existent thing. How can they destroy the non-existent thing? That's a damn good spiritual shoe to fit, and see how it goes. Here, there's a little bit of a mistake. Something that's not existing, that appears to be existent, is now taken to be you. Yeah. Now you want to make a better you, or find a larger you, or the authentic you, or the eternal you, and you humbly believe that if I practice spirituality, I will move towards my goal. But he's going, no, 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 no. He says your spiritual practices themselves, without seeing what's happening before the ship was launched, yeah, your spiritual practices themselves will be used to reinforce the non-existent thing. In other words, that which you want to get out of gets reinforced by trying to get out of it. Yeah? Because there's an identification as what we're not. It's like the Buddha has forgotten it's the Buddha, so now it's seeking for itself as Steve. Light is seemingly, it only appears to be true to light. This is important. It appears to the Buddha that he has forgotten the Buddha. Nothing else could ever make the Buddha seemingly forget the Buddha other than the Buddha. Yeah? No, nothing else. And seemingly means it appears to be true or false. Yeah? So in time, the Buddha can seemingly forget that it's the Buddha. Suddenly it finds itself as Steve. Steve isn't doing that well. So now Steve, after he tries tons of shit, he ends up in Buddhism, let's say. So now Steve tries to use Buddhism, makes total sense, to acquire or attain some of the qualities he's laid on the Buddha, which he never met, thousands of years ago, laid on there. And so he's going to use this methodology. Many people have been before, many people are with him, and he's going to write. But all the while, the master is saying, that's the Buddha. So the Buddha, aka Steve, is practicing Buddha. He's probably in huge disagreements when he reads about Buddhism. So I didn't say that. I fucking didn't. That's not it. But whatever. So suddenly, and so Steve gets better, of course. Yeah. Does Steve ever get out of Steve as Steve? No. But Steve becomes a much more subtle, better Steve. And that's fine. But if you want to get to the point of it, it's not to look for the Buddha, it's to see what you're not. Yeah. So it's sort of like, when I'm identified as Steve, what I am has taken itself in time. It's an impossibility, but in time it can seem to be so. That which I am has taken myself to be something else, and now I'm looking for what I am from what I'm not. Yeah? And at the same moment, if you see it a different way, I'm seeing what I'm not from what I am. That's it. When the emphasis goes over here, you see what you're not from what you are, instead of looking for what you are from what you're not. They can happen at the same time. One is always available at all times, the seeing of what you're not. The other one is a product of time. It takes a while for what you're not, for what you are as what you're not to look for itself. A long fucking while. In spirituality, they say it's going to be lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. But when you see what you're not from what you are, it has no time at all involved in it. Not 1 second.
I think I just read in the Course in Miracles yesterday, it's like it's illusions arguing with illusions.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So,
it is.
I'll read this thing in the Course. Even if you've never heard of it, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. And you know what, I've been talking a lot, so I want to skate on this one today. I gotta find my glasses. I'll do without them.
Do you want these?
Yeah. All right, so this is from 468 if you're interested in this copy of this book. Now the first thing he's talking about, I don't know what they're referring to, but he goes here. Yet we have heard. Just follow this with the same idea. What these two paragraphs are going to do are going to describe the activity of what we're not. And in quite a beautiful way. And I've heard my own description thousands of times, so sometimes I'd rather hear another one. So this is a good one. Yet we have heard a very similar description earlier, but it was not of you. Yeah? Everything that we're talking about tonight is not of you. You can know what you're not. You can study what you're not. You'll probably lose interest in it, but you could. You can understand what you're not, and you're experiencing what you're not all day. That's how experiences happen, through what you're not. Yeah? But you can't apply that to what you are. You can't study what you are, because you would be that which is studying what you are. Yeah? You can't experience what you are. You'd have to be something else. You can't study it, that's for sure. You can't know it. All the possibility we have concerning us is being it. Yeah? And I'm humbly saying we're being it right now. Maybe we don't think so, but in fact, that the thinking doesn't make it unso. Yeah, because what we are is prior to thinking. Thinking is an activity in time. What we are is the seeing from timelessness. Yeah, we're not produced by thought. And also, see, this is the incredible thing with the selfing. This is how the heist goes on. There's thoughts. So what if something wasn't there? How could it imply that it was always there? It would have to claim activities that seem to always be going on. So let's say feeling. Yeah, you're feeling a lot all day. So the mental state claims the feeling and it uses it to imply the idea you're the feeler. So there's tons of feelings all day, but there's only one feeler. Yeah, in one life, one feeler, tons of feelings. And then the thought system is somebody, is freaking pretty active. Yeah? So every thought is being used to imply the thinker. Yeah, you see? So when people try to get into the feelings and the thoughts, they're not seeing it. It has nothing to do with the thoughts. It has to do with the sense of being the thinker. That's where the meaning is distributed from there to the thought. The thought doesn't bring you meaning. You injected the thought with meaning from mind, yeah, from the ownership of the thought. So all the thoughts that are coming all day, there's an insinuation, an applying, a supposing that you're the one who's thinking, yeah, and the feeling's the same thing, and the action's the same thing. And to the point is, with this claiming, it even claims consciousness. So the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, which there's no volition concerning it, yes? If your eyes are open, you're going to see what's there. You could have taken a vow, I'm not going to see a lovely lady from fucking Croatia or Serbia, but there I see her. So the seeing, it's so incredible. So the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, there's no volition, and are you sweating at 5 in the afternoon from seeing so much? You know, especially in New York City, you see a whole lot. Like just sitting on the street, you're not like exhausted, are you? Oh, fuck, I'm exhausted seeing. No, it doesn't demonstrate any thought or effort, does it? You don't break out in sweating. Oh, I'm hearing so much, sweating. You know, it's just happening because it's being conscious. That's what it is. Yeah, and beingness doesn't exert or demonstrate thought or effort. Doing this does, but beingness doesn't. Yeah. So here's the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. The mental state notices that and then says, "Well, I'm the seer, and there's the seeing." Yeah. So this is what they talk about duality. Duality is actually stemming from dualism. Yeah. And the dualism is found in our little event because sometimes you're thought about, and sometimes you're the thinker. So sometimes you're cast as the subject, sometimes you're cast as the object, all day. It just switches back and forth, yeah, all day. So we're the dualism, which is what causes duality to seem to appear, what causes yes and no, this and that, close and far. There isn't a real place. It's dreaming, yeah? So it dreams through this is split, and therefore it seems split, yeah? So here's the seeing. It's suddenly claimed, and now seer and seen is emphasized. Yes? Hearing, hearer, heard. Tasting, taster, tasted. Smelling, smeller, smelt, whatever. Yeah? You see it? So the livingness, the verbness, gets constructed into nouns. Yeah? So the verb is used to imply nouns. And usually you're taken to be the subjective noun, and the other person or the thing you saw as the object. Yeah? This is duality. This is the living dreaming. You're in it up to your neck. It's noticeable. You can see it. You can see what's happening where we're at. And there's no efforting. It isn't Paul that's seeing. It isn't Paul that's dreaming. Yeah? It isn't Paul that's doing any of it. Paul is really an expression of it. Paul is like way, way, way down the line. Paul seems to appear. Yep. So this claiming, this selfing, claims all of this activity to imply what? Yeah. So it's there. There's like, you know, in spirituality they have the I am. You know, everyone speaks of the I am, the undeniable onness. So how is the selfing going to get over that fucking speed bump? Yeah, you know. Well, what it does is the thought system obviously pictures you as a body. When you're usually thought about as a body. Yeah? Or at least all the thoughts are framed in the body idea. The memory is completely body oriented. You can't picture yourself as spirit 5 years ago in Hawaii. Where? Here's all these pictures of me. Nothing. Oh yeah, it caught me perfectly. 5,000 albums. Yeah. So the thought system, the memories, and the perception sees things. Yeah. We're not seeing the space. We're seeing the things in the space. Yeah. So all of these activities take us as a body, basically. Yeah. So the mental state, by remembering Paul in the past, so it goes, I was Paul, and by remembering Paul, by worrying about Paul as a body in the future, I will be Paul, it arrives at, therefore I am Paul as a body, you see? It takes time to do it. So the timelessness of our condition, which is not of thingness, is there, gets hidden with time. So I was there, I will be there, therefore I am here. That's its logic. Once you swallow that, it just riffs like fucking crazy. It just goes to town. So, I was in LA and I was doing a talk, and the guy who knows me or knows the stuff that comes through, he says, all right, Paul, let's call the selfing Pauling. All right, he says, how much Pauling are you doing on a regular day? Is it 80% Pauling, 50% Pauling, 10% Pauling? And I said, no, you have it wrong in a sense. See, he believed there was Pauling, but the Paul comes from the Pauling, then Paul. The selfing implies self. There is no self that's selfing. See, this is what happens. When the self is implied, the self owns the selfing. Goes, I've been selfing all day. I get these emails all the fucking time. Or the selfing's driving me crazy. They're a perfect illustration of the freaking message. If you just see it. You just see it. It happens that fast. The selfing's occurring. The presupposing, which means the supposing is presupposed. So here's the selfing. As soon as the selfing has worked its wonders, there's the feeling of being the self, and then the self states, I'm the one who's selfing. That's it.
That's crazy.
It does it thousands of different ways, but that's the fucking movement. The movement is what you want to catch. You don't want to catch all the particulars because there'll be millions of them. You want the MO, the modus operandi, and the modus operandi is that which comes after implies it's before. So consciousness occurs, the mental state notices it, it has sentience, it becomes something, the lights go on, so to speak, and what's there, the mental state claims. So seeing, I'm the seer. Feeling, I'm the feeler. And when there's a doing, there's a sense that you're the doer. When there's a feeling, there's a sense of being the feeler. Yeah? But the feeling was what was used to imply the feeler. See, but the feeling immediately gets claimed by the feeler. And now they're your feelings. That's the heist. If you can see it, because you're the burglar, you're the policeman, you're everything. You have to see it. If you see the hand in the cookie jar and follow it, it's yours, and it's actually not yours as what you think it is, this. But it's yours as what you are. We're dreaming. Yeah? And like it or not, this is how it is. See, the mental state loves grazing in what's not happening. I mean, seriously. It will graze about, I'd be a professional surfer now, but it just tries to forget a slight idea. I got run over by a fucking car twice. Or I would have 3 kids if I was a woman, but I'm not. It has these little, it just entertains impossibilities. And because you have no sense of here, you take there and then as here. You take its replacement. It's here now entertaining what's not happening. It's actually in what's happening entertaining what's not happening. And suddenly you're more driven by yesterday and tomorrow than you are responding to now. It's available. The seeing has been untouched by all the shenanigans after it. Nothing that's happening in time leaks into timelessness. Nothing. All the things that happened 2 seconds ago have left no mark on what always is. Not one. Not the most heinous thing you believe you did or the worst thing that you forgot to do. There's no mark on it. No mark. There's no tattoos on nothing. They're all tattooed on the idea of being a thing. The doer, the feeler, the thinker. Yeah. So I'm going to riff on this thing because I really, this one always blows my mind for years. Yeah. All right, so yet we have heard a very similar description earlier. See, the only thing that can be described is not of you. You cannot be described. Everything that's not of you can be described. Everything. Yeah. But you cannot be described. So, yet we have heard a very similar description earlier, but it was not of you. But still, this strange idea, which it does accurately describe, you think is you. The idea of self. Yeah. The only way you can mistake itself for another you is through thinking. Thinking is what makes it seemingly so. Without the support and reinforcement of thinking, it wouldn't stand a chance. The holes of its story would be fucking huge. Yeah, and they wouldn't even motivate any movement to step through them. You would know nothing the fuck's happened. Yeah. So, but still the strange idea which it does accurately describe you think is you. Reason, or let's say wisdom, would tell you that the world you see through eyes that are not yours, these must make no sense to you. Exactly. Can you imagine if you as a kid came here now and stood in front of you and you were flipping out about last Wednesday? You fucking kid, you would say, "What the fuck? Let's go play." I can't. He would be amazed because we're totally obsessed with what's not happening. He was in what's happening, and in what's happening, what's not happening ain't happening. But if you call what's not happening, what's happening, you're going to have a lot of psychiatrist bills, a lot of therapy bills. You're going to need a lot of help to solve the unsolvable imaginary situations. So, let's see. To whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? Surely not you. That's a nice way of putting it. Surely not you, whose sight is wholly independent of the eyes that look upon the world. So what is he talking about? Awareness, obviously. The sight that's independent of the eyes that see the world. It's awareness, mind, yes? That's the true vision. The eyes are a way of looking that blinds us to the seeing. When we're using these to see what's seeing, we're blind to it. Because it's the seeing, yes, that's looking for the seeing. Why do you think it doesn't work? You really think you've screwed up? That if you would have practiced more, it would have worked? It wouldn't have. You can't get out of what you're not in. It's impossible. Like they say in Zen, a great statement in Faith Mind, it says you can't use activity, which is this, to produce stillness. That would be activity. There's the conundrum. You read it in all of them. They all have it there. Plain as day, the simple little Chinese thumb torture thing that we seem to already be in. Yeah? If you start from here, you're looking how to get out. Yeah? You can't use non-duality as a skillful means. If you're feeling shitty and you want to entertain I'm not a person, it doesn't work. It fucking doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't budge. It's just a fact. That's all it is. It's a fact. If it seems to lend itself to you as that, it will trickle down through the action figure. It's not even necessary because the action figure is going to continue to do what it's doing probably. Yeah. The action figure does not have to become like that. Yeah. The action figure doesn't have to remember that because it's that. Remembering what it already is a redundancy. It doesn't fucking help. Just be what you are. And you are, so there's no effort. Yeah, so here. To whom would seeing such as this send back its messages? Surely not you, whose sight is wholly dependent of the eyes that look upon the world. If this is not your vision, what can it show to you? That it's not your vision. Yes? I am the seeing of what I'm not, you see? In the seeing of what I'm not, that's what I am. I am the seeing of what I'm not. I have seen that this is a failed system. That's how I get to see. That's me. That's what I am. By seeing this as a failed system, there's the intimation of what actually is true. I can't know it because I'm being it, but there's an intimation of it. And the intimation comes from, I am the seeing of what I'm not. So, if this is not your vision, what can it show to you? That it's not your vision. Yeah. The brain cannot interpret what your vision sees. This you would understand. This is an incredible statement. The brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So basically that's what's happening all day, yes? The brain is taking in all this information and it's collating it and framing it as a body. All of it's collating, all of it's putting this here and that there and emphasizing this and that is all based on the basic frame it's stuck in, which is it's a body. Yeah? The brain interprets to the body. It does not interpret to the spirit. You don't have to wait to convince the brain. It's never going to be convinced. It's got its source code and it's doing what it's doing. But you don't need to, this does not have to come along with you to everywhere because you're already here. You don't have this. We give it way too much fucking relevance. If you're waiting to get this thing to agree, forget about it. Just realize, don't waste any time. Same thing with, why would you want to talk to a body identification and talk about there is no free will? It's fucking crazy. I just bought a soy latte down the thing. I could have had a muffin, but I decided this and that. This is never going to get there is no free will. It's just pointless. I mean, let the message go where the message is heard, yeah? And then the heard message will express that through that which can express. But to try to have this understand, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like the, I am a lion. I am a lion. If the sheep identification hears it, it can only turn it into I can become like a lion. It cannot get it because it's already a sheep. It's built in, a sheep. So when it hears I'm not a sheep, it wah. So now it tries to be a non-sheep as a sheep. It doesn't work. Just see you're not the sheep, It's sort of like the glove hears the message, There's something better than the glove, so now the glove tries to become a better glove. No, the message is to the hand, yeah? Because the hand is the enemy. If the hand hears it's not a glove, it goes somewhere. If the glove hears it's not a glove, look at what's happened in non-duality. You get to see it. It's a lot of gloves running around trying to be a non-glove. Fuck it, it's impossible, Just the message isn't to you. It's never to you. It's over our heads, thank God. So the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. But what it says you cannot understand, yet you have listened to it because it's presented as you. I wouldn't listen to Stanley's little narrative if I'm Paul, but I'll fucking seemingly listen to Paul's narrative for 60-something years. And it's basically the same narrative of Stanley, except for different nouns here and there. But Stanley's I turn off in a minute. But here, on and on and on. There's a love, it's called the cherishing of self. It's the original addiction, the mental state's addiction to appearing to be a self. See, this is what thwarts it, you see? Like Buddha said, supposedly, like desire is the cause of the suffering. But if you look at the initial desires, it's in the mental state, the desire to become and unbecome. So the mental state has a desire to become a self, which it can never do, and then it wants to unbecome shit it thinks it is, which it isn't. Like a loser and unlovable and shit like that, yeah? So it has a self-perpetuating energy because the desire to become and unbecome like a slinky. It keeps itself going. So that's why he says you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. So you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. See, you can't take yourself out of the equation as the number one of the equation. The mathematics of the mental state is the primary number is 1, where the true mathematics is 0. So there's a negation of the 1, and then there's something you find out. There isn't an affirming of what you want to find out, which will only reinforce the idea of the 1. Yeah, you feel it? It's a different, it's like if I'm anything, I'm like a traffic cop. This is, there's a certain flow, and once you taste it, it's totally different. If you want to call it a logic, it's totally different than the mental logic, and it's seamless. It's seamless because it's in seeing what you're not, that's what you are. There's no looking after that, yeah? When you see what you're not, it doesn't, the mental response doesn't happen where you start looking for what you are. There's a stopping, there's a seeing of what you're not, and you caught it looking for what you are, but from what you are, yeah? So there's not a dualistic movement. There's a seeing of what you're not, and then there's a pause there. And that's us. That's us. Yeah. All right. The brain is so here. You have not realized it is impossible to understand what fails entirely to reach you. You have received no messages at all you understand, for you have listened to what can never communicate at all. Think then what happens. This is a very good, see, to me, this is like almost an anatomy of what's going on, yeah? This is like an anatomy, almost like if you were at a school when they show the parts of the body. This is the movement of selfing completely described, yeah? So, denying what you are, that's the state of the mental state. It's denying what you are by being identified as what you're not, yes? Denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. Yeah, this is the whole point. I'm a believer of faith as a force of mind. I don't care about our faith or anything like that. Because when someone says, I don't have any faith, there was faith before that, yeah? There was faith that they didn't have any faith. Faith is a power, it's a force, and it doesn't have a charge, it's neutral, yeah? But it's gonna manifest in the vehicle it's put in. So you can see what happens if there's faith in the thought system. It produces tons of fucking anxiety out of the fields of what's not happening. The thoughts, there is no field of next week. It's faith in the idea there's a next week that allows this to happen, yeah? So the faith is being directed by the mental state. So it can produce effects by dwelling on what's not happening now, which is a miracle, really, if you look at it. You know, that story of Lazarus, he got raised from the dead supposedly by Jesus, but Lazarus was alive at one time. We're making shit out of nothing all day, really. You know, I've seen people ruin their life based on 2 weeks ago. I've seen people probably kill themselves, or get loaded again, whatever, based on false evidence appearing real at that moment. That's faith. That's the force. And if you notice, if you can get a sense of some of the power that you represent, you will definitely have a huge humility and have a sense of not wanting to be directed by the mental state. Because that mental state magnifies that light, and I believe puts it on very contracting activities, yes? So can you imagine for this to be seen as the center of the universe? For this to be thought about more than anything else? I mean, it can't handle it. It's not a celestial chariot of the gods. It's like a Toyota. It's way too much fucking emphasis, you know what I mean? And it's not going to be here for that long. And yet we're fucking like washing the car we're like totally it's obsessed with this. It's going to be like a flash of an eyelid. It's going to be over. As if it never happened. So he goes, all right, denying what you are and firm in faith that you are something else. That's the basis of selfing right there. So when selfing is going on, the selfing is really based on that. Denying what you are and firm in faith in what you're not. That's what it is. Yeah? And the selfing just is used to reinforce that activity. Yes? By what? By the selfing is claiming all the activities to imply that, to reinforce that activity. Yeah? That activity could not stand on its own. But when all the thoughts are claimed and the feelings are claimed and the actions are claimed, it can produce this effect of being in the state of denying what you are and firm in faith in what you're not. But it takes a lot of other activity, a lot of claiming. Yeah? So, denying what you are and firm faith that you are something else. The something else, this is beautiful, really. You got to see the brilliance of this. The something else that you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. Self-centeredness, that's why you're blind to what's seen. This is like a pair of glasses. You think there are your eyes, so you never think that you could take them off. Yeah? But you've never really felt. That you have made to be yourself becomes your sight. This is such an incredible diagnostic, these two paragraphs. It must be the something else that sees and as not you. Self-centeredness, that's looking. Yeah. Self-centered looking, usually you see everything as how it pertains to you, basically. That's called self-centeredness. That's the system. Yeah. So it goes, this something else that you're made to be yourself becomes your sight. Yet it must be the something else that sees and as not you. And as not you. Not you. Your vision would of course render this quite unnecessary, getting all these fucking descriptions. You wouldn't need them. And you don't need them. As soon as, see, this is not a thing you say every freaking day. This is an invitation. Once the seeing dominates, you don't need to reinforce it. It reinforces its freaking self. Seeing begets seeing. Yeah? But while we're seemingly taking the orders from something that's not us, it's damn good to start seeing that as not us or not you. Yeah? But it's not like for 50 years, you know? It's not you. So you don't have to verify it's not you for 50 fucking years. It's not you. There's a point where critical mass occurs and there's a convincing of that, yes? It's like, it could be no, or it was no, or it will no. You know, it's not like that guy, Dr. whatever his name, zip it, that thing, what's his name, that funny guy, Dr. Evil, and his son wants to say something, you're not going to it's just, you don't have to deny what's not there for long. You just have to deny that it's seemingly there, yeah? And so there, if it was there, you'd have to keep denying, but when something is seemingly there, the denial is quite direct and quick, because you see it as not being there. Yeah? So a non-existent thing, you don't have to worry about it resurrecting. It's non-existent. You don't have to go every month and make sure it's dead. It was never alive. Yes, there's an absoluteness of freedom concerning it because it does not exist. So your vision would, of course, render this quite unnecessary. Yet if your eyes are closed, the awareness, seemingly, yeah, and you have called upon this thing to lead you, which is the GPS of one's head, yes? Obviously, practical application, see what this person, they're saying, and then apply it. Now, this is what's happening. We're listening to this GPS. We have given it the job to lead us, to tell us about us, to be us, seemingly, yeah? So, yet if your eyes are closed and you have called upon this thing to lead you, asking it to explain to you the world it sees, you have no reason not to listen until now, maybe, nor to suspect that what it tells you is not true. That's why there's talks. That's why maybe through trauma or through a download or something, there's ways that the Buddha can be reminded, hey, you can't use yourself to find yourself. Yeah? And maybe the Buddha will want to practice Buddhism for the fucking fun of it. Who knows? I have no idea what will happen in anyone's case. Yeah? But you will definitely have a sense that the horse is in front of the cart. Yeah? And you'll see blue is blue and red is red, and you won't be looking for what can't be found. Yeah? You know, and you'll never get gypped ever again. The story that you weren't here is total baloney. You've never been out of any moment ever. It's impossible. This idea of trying to get into the moment is based on an insane idea you could be out of a moment. And the opposite is trying to get out of self when you can't be in self. It's total bizarro world. We're trying to get out of what we can't be in. We're trying to get into what we can't be out of. And when you try to get out, it reinforces the in. When you try to get in, it reinforces the out. You can't. If you walk this door, you can't. You're not gonna. It's sort of like, you know, I want to see what's seen. You're not gonna see what's seen. It's not. You're not. It's not on the menu. You're not gonna know yourself. You're knowing everything else from it. Yeah. You're not gonna study yourself. You're studying shit from it. Yeah. So. To me, it's a flavor. That's why we share so much. I'm not trying anything. There's a flavor to it. If you get the flavor of the negation, yeah, of this little rhythm of what Course says, because he describes something perfectly, and you go, wow, that sounds just like me, and you're not that. You know what I mean? The thing is you hear the description of what you're not. That's really. This is a meaning of duality, really. We're talking about duality. We're not talking about oneness, because to talk to two-ness about oneness doesn't go anywhere. Just let's see if we're not two. If we're not two, you'll find out what you are. And you're not of two. Yeah? So, any questions? I'm going to try to get out of here at 9 so we can save some money. Yeah.
I mean, it's all good, but you know.
But is always that's where the world starts. How about we just start with it's all good?
It's all good. Okay.
All right, go with them.
I mean, I took a train, and I took another train. I came down here, and then I'll go on retreats. People go on retreats, and they'll spend thousands of dollars, and so stuff like this is saying you don't gotta do all that. Just see what
Exactly.
And yet.
But if I save you money from your next year's spiritual budget, I want you to tithe 10%. Exactly.
501c3. But then you read the people, as part of that whole longing and trying to make it happen, make this enlightenment thing happen. You read the stories of people, who did the whole path, right? Whatever, Adyashanti or Eckhart Tolle, they had this traumatic, they had this collapse going on, but they spent thousands of hours on the mat, and they did this and they did that. So was their stuff useless, or was that part of the play?
Let me say this. All right, so on one stage, this is a multi-dimensional event, right?
Yeah.
So the stages on stages on stages. So on one stage, it looks like the action figure read this and did all that, and valid. And then the goal that they were reading about or conceptualizing about, suddenly something, or maybe not so sudden, who knows, suddenly something happens, and it's a sufficient enough download, but when the download happens, it tells you it's always been this way. So the goal that you were attempting to arrive at through this effort, when you arrive, it says there was no goal. It's always been that way. So yes, it's true on that level, and yet it's not true on this level. Yeah? Yeah. But the thing is, if you would ask these people, they have to admit they didn't do anything really. You can't conjure this up. See, like in AA, it's surrender. I got run over twice in one night. That didn't produce a fucking surrender. I mean, the surrender happened with me on a regular day at the office. Something just downloaded and interrupted this little story. But you would think getting run over and then getting backed up and run over again, maybe you'd surrender. No. So it's not the outside. Yeah. But yeah, so you did all this, yes. What I also would put that in as is a statement in the Course saying, you and I are the dreaming, and I don't like the word dream, but so you and I are the dreaming of the dreaming, and we're going to dream ourselves out of it. So that would be sort of looking at like that. So you're doing this, you read that, and you seemingly are dreaming yourself out of it. And as you're dreaming yourself out of it, the dream will get happier. It doesn't mean it's an eternal dream. It's going to end faster because the Course is all about saving time. Yeah. So I like that. That's very reassuring. But I don't. You can't go against when something downloads, though. I mean, that's why this was not a good career choice, because I don't have intensives or retreats, because I don't think more does it. I don't. I have faith in mind, and I don't think you need much, really. I think you need like a man, I'm like a mailman. I come here like some people on a 1-year plan, once a year. Some people I know once every 5 years. Some people just drive by a meeting, or they leave a message on my voicemail just to say, really, and I'm truly meant to become obsolete. I may think it's happening faster than I want it, because I'm still here, with a lavish lifestyle that's dripping a little. So, but I knew that when I came into it, from what happened. I knew, and I said it years and years ago, I'm meant to be obsolete. This is just a message, an invitation. And you know what? It has very little to do with the action figure. So don't pin it on me. I have I do, and this is the dilemma with self-centeredness. We want to attribute everything to a body. There's no body that's awake. There's no body that had enlightenment. There's a guy, I know a man who's into Tibetan Buddhism, Dokchen. He's a teacher. So he wrote me, and he told me about this great master in Tibet that was super awake and this and that. And the guy's got Alzheimer's now, dementia. So that his students are a little flipped out because they thought he was enlightened. And now he's babbling around, So it's sort of like, what? But there was enlightenment awakening may have expressed through someone, but it doesn't. It's not like made in Steve. It's not a product of Steve. I believe we're more like transmission devices. Yes, things come through. Yes, come through. Yet nothing. The thing that when you feel it coming through, it's actually, you feel it so way before the claiming, you can never claim it. Yeah. That's the beauty, because I've never been at any one of these meetings. That's the only reason why I come. Literally. I wouldn't show up because if it was me, I would say, I don't have it in me tonight. I'm not clear. I was fucking around this morning, or, I was not nice to someone. I did, you know what I mean? I would exile myself out of the possibility. But since I've been sharing in AA, I knew something was just moving through, and I was just used for transportation. I get here, but that's about all I do. And then, as an experience, it's totally fucking empty. It's unbelievable. I don't get anything out of it. I can't mine anything out of it ever. It's just, I've never had events like that in my life. But I do know when I'm here doing this, it used to be more obvious when I was younger. I'd have a lot of pressing things happening. Maybe I had illness, maybe this, and I would sit in a meeting and I was willing to be used, and something would happen, and all the conditions that seemed so pressing would be completely forgotten. And after years and years of example, I realized how real could they have been if they were forgotten so quickly. It didn't take even a second to forget them. Yeah, it's just the attention got moved somewhere else. The mental state was directing it on, your knee, or you may have AIDS, or she left you, or whatever, 5 years ago. She left you, or it's me. But then it gets directed by something else, and all the meaning that was given by the selfing to all these things, like no effect whatsoever. You have to see something in that. I had thousands of examples of it. And this is not 2 levels below a coconut. It has some kind of observational skills. And I realized, how could something be real if it disappeared that fast? So, yeah. Any questions?
You were saying that awareness kind of gets tricked into believing it's something it's not.
It doesn't get tricked into it, it's in cahoots with it. It's
But
dreaming.
how could, awareness is like God. God can't be fooled to believe something that isn't.
God can be fooled by God.
Said,
God can be fooled by God. What do you think? No illusion is going to fool reality unless reality's in cahoots with it. And reality's dreaming. I don't know why. Why not? How I see it is this idea of false evidence appearing real. False evidence to appear real has to appear real to what's real. We're what's real. Yes, yeah. So that's dreaming. To me, that's the basis. That's the basis of dreaming. We're dreaming in time. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happens. It's all happening, but nothing ever culminates into a happening. It's all verbing with no beginning or end. Nothing, there wasn't the cause that kicked off the verbing, and then the verbing is eroding in time. The time is all the dreaming. Verbing is just verbing. Everything is verbing. The mental state's reaction is to plant nouns in there. Yeah? So let's see if something was just happening, and you put a point in, a point of reference. Immediately, everything would be given direction and meaning from that point. It would be happening to me. That's self-centeredness. So it's an idea, it's a verb, it's an activity called selfing that implies an imaginary noun, and then suddenly now there's a position, and now suddenly life is seen to be happening to me. It can only appear in time. Time is dreaming. It's a magic trick. That which comes after implies it's before. If you can see the robbery, it's a robbery in plain sight, and it doesn't have 800 MOs. It's one simple thing. It claims what's happening to imply it's happening to someone. Yeah. It can't get to the someone without claiming what's happening, because it's not happening. Yeah. The happening is implied by claiming all that is that's happening. So it uses what's happening to imply this other, but that isn't happening. Yeah? Catch it. This will continue to go on, but you'll travel lighter through it. This is my report from hanging out with these ideas for years. I was thinking everything was going to go great, but it didn't. What happened was I was able to travel lighter with whatever life had in store for me, and that's a fucking good application. Yeah, I've traveled lighter through people I know. We just learned about someone died that I know just today. All this stuff. Yeah, just travel lighter, and I think, what more does this want? There's no value in awareness of awareness. There's value about awareness where it doesn't seem to be that valuable. Here, yeah? This is where things have value in the dreaming. And this is proven very, very valuable because this action figure was fucking off the rails. I had a difficult time living life on life's terms every day because the obsession was, I was way up the ass of self. I needed like a divine proctologist with a law. And I mean, what I seemed to have done, there was something that drove me to great lengths to try to escape here with drugs. I can't say with spirituality, my resume of spirituality could be questioned, but not my resume of drug addiction. And I would match my drug addiction devotion to any spiritual devotee in the history of spirituality. I did anything for it. I'd take anything I had or you had and give it. When it treated me terribly, I still fucking loved it. Couldn't leave it no matter what. Yeah? And yet I could not, you cannot transcend an imaginary place. If I could have, I would have. I pushed this body to death. I overdosed a lot of times on coke, the seed, because I believed if my mind got taught enough, it would snap and there would be a new, but it didn't work. I woke up at the same fucking movie. The cops there and shit like that. So, yeah, So you want to pass the basket, honey? We're going to try to, we're a little over time. We're going to, so you can go ahead. Go. We're going to try to make it in an hour, but forget it.
No, you can cut it there if you want.
No, go ahead. You're worth the money, bro.
I'm just wondering,
Maybe.
so there was a little something in it for you, and then you said you're traveling lighter. Did I
Oh
understand?
yeah, there's a lot in it for this,
But
not
you
for
did
me.
say there was nothing, you did sort of like ruminate for a moment and say there's nothing in all this for me.
Exactly, there's nothing in it. But the result of nothing in this traveling is traveling lighter. But I don't get anything out of it. I can't mine this thing. I'm like the coyote with the desert tortoise. I want to get some fucking meat off it, but I can't. So this thing held out. See, I knew it was about nothing, but this thing came along with it for a while thinking it was really something. I was gonna get something at one point. And about 5, 6 years ago, I realized it's getting fucking nothing. Literally, you know? And now it's sort of, its enthusiasm has waned. I try to keep my commitments. So. But whatever moves through has never gotten uninterested. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, it just never ends. Especially if I smell any interest, you know, because sometimes I play audiences that are not interested. They think they have a solution. They have the solution, so they're like, it's sort of like, you know, a lounge singer. It doesn't go well. But other times, it's just beautiful when it's a whole flow, because everyone gets fed with nothing. Yeah. Nothing though, stuck with, if you stick with it, it's everything. Really. It truly is. Don't you? We've all had enough something, haven't we?
Yeah.
If you total them all up, they total up to nothing. Why not just start at nothing? That's the whole message. And you know, people who've seen me for years, has it changed? Never changes. It's the same. People call me up, anything new? No. Anything new in non-duality? No. There's nothing new. You can't fucking put a bigger engine in non-duality. You can't fucking drag tires on it. It's non-duality. It's a fact. It's just either it seems to be to you or not. But try to use it. It doesn't go well. You know what I mean? When you try to apply it, like the first example I had when I lived in Australia, my girlfriend went out and she said, "Paul, hey, do the dishes," you know. And so when she came home, they weren't done. And she said, "Paul, why didn't you do the dishes?" "There's no Paul." And she said, "Fuck you, Paul, do the dishes." You know, my head was trying to get an advantage out of it. You know, and a lot of people in recovery try to get advantage out of it. Oh, if there's no self, then I don't have to do the steps and this and that. But now there are drunk self, no self, you know. This action figure has dilemmas it needs to deal with. You know, like the course would talk about level confusion. You can't use the absolute, you know, if your house is on fire, you don't want to apply a philosophy, there is no house and no fire. You need a pail of water, yes? That's the point. Now, when the fire stops, maybe you can look into it. It seems like I've been at a lot of fires. May I have something to do with the fires, yes? And then you see your role in it, yeah? And then, but when the shit hits the fan, you better have some skillful means for this. If it tries to use non-duality, it doesn't work. Yeah, so, all right, well, we're gonna go out and eat at that sushi place around the corner if you want. And are you gonna pass the basket? Pass it about 5 times. That thing with you is, my feeling is simply this: that which is real is taking what's not real to be so. That's all. Yes? It's not trick, it's in cahoots with it. See, it's made time, and in time it can seem to forget.
But it doesn't really forget.
No, it doesn't really forget, because if it ever dawns on you, it's always been that way. So it's dreaming. Listen, honey, right there. How are you? Good? Good. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Yeah, down in Dover. And you, yes. How are you? Good. Oh, you're welcome. And did you had your ceremony? Did you do the ceremony there? Good.
Yeah, we came straight from the synagogue, jumped in a cab.
Oh, good, yeah. It was funny how it made it 8 o'clock so you could come. It's nice.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have been able to.
Isn't it? Yeah, I know. I didn't do it the way it conspired. It
Really? I
happened.
thought maybe that's what it's, because originally it was in a different place.
No, they
different time.
had misbooked, so we had to get this place. It was all a
I
rush.
didn't feel, because there's a lot of Jews in New York City, I thought maybe like somebody said to you, it's.
Oh no, I have no idea. I need to, you know, I have like, I'll go to the city where the Super Bowl is and give a talk, you know. And if I miss,
Well, you know.
I need like reports, yeah.
Something was working on it.
Yeah, it worked out fine. It was really nice to see everybody too.
Hi, Paul, you covered everything, like, I wish I had a question, but like, I mean, what can I gonna say? You're like, you hit everything, like, what can I say?
Good, yeah. We try to be comprehensive. You've been listening a while, eh? You've been listening a while.
I don't live there
Yeah.
in the US, but I was coming as a tourist anyway, so I discovered that you are here in New York.
Oh, where are you from?
Estonia.
Estonia. Ah.
Someone else?
Yeah, we have a Serbian. Well, we're all Estonians inside, right? All right. Well, anything else?
No, that's great.
Hey, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. And you know, we'll probably be back